And on today's call, we are going to be going over our big three. And if you're new and joining this call for the first time, my name is Dominic, and I'm going to be going over exactly how we can get our big three completed. So again, that's our profile section, our company information, as well as our domains last to finish us off. So we're going to go ahead and walk through some slides first, and then we'll go ahead and jump straight into it. And I just want to say at any time, if you guys have questions, go ahead and direct your questions like you see on your screen right now to the drop down. We're going to go ahead and direct our questions also for today's session towards beginners, because this is our Monday call, our introduction call. So let's go ahead and go to the next one. So I just want to keep in mind everything with this call as well as the Investment Dominator. So we're going to keep this process, this LPG deal flow. So this is going to be the process that we primarily keep with the Investment Dominator and some goals that are set so that we could reach our end goal of really getting paid and getting that money. So next, you'll see here your company information, your accounting data, your offer requests. So for instance, all this on the left-hand side is going to be input from the Investment Dominator. And when you input that information into the Investment Dominator, what you're able to output are these letters, these offers. You have websites, calculators, and tools, as well as how you can manage your analytics and your team management. So there's a lot that can be done with the Investment Dominator. And what we're going to basically walk through right now is how we can first get set up. And the best way to get set up with the Investment Dominator is just fulfilling your big three items. So let's go ahead and head into the Investment Dominator. So one thing you'll notice is that right when you're in the screen right here, let me refresh and see if it comes, an Enable tool will pop up, and it'll basically walk you through all of the sections that you'll see here. So we have some color-coded sections that go from land to notes. Then we have task all the way to profile. So right now, to do our first item of the big three, let's go ahead and go to our profile section. So you can see here, when we're looking directly at our profile section, there's some items that we have to fill out. Just want to keep in mind as well, anytime you see a question mark symbol between some brackets, you're going to notice that a helpful tip is going to pop up. This is just very useful when you're working with the Investment Dominator, and you might see these, and depending on if you're working with a specific field in the Customize tab or in the Land section, there'll be a helpful tip or a reference displayed from that. But you'll see here at a place where you can put your first name as well as your last name. Then you'll just go ahead and put an email where you can best be reached at. So one thing that you want to keep in mind is when we're talking about this email for the profile section, you don't have to worry about any of this information being sent out for marketing purposes. So this is going to be exactly how IT support can go and message you in case of, let's say, your ticket, for instance, if you submit a ticket through the help section. Or another section that is helpful as well is the phone number. So a phone number where you could be best reached at. Then we just have our time zone. So the company is based in Arizona, so go ahead and put the Arizona time zone. Now this section here is really cool. So when we're working with the signature image, one thing that you'll notice is that you have two options. Your first option is to upload a signature, and your second option is to generate a signature. So as you can see, we kind of have a signature here already. Let's say we go ahead and generate a signature. So the first thing that you'll notice when you go to generate your signature is that you have an opportunity to put your name as well as choose a font and choose a color. So I'll go ahead and put my name. And let's go ahead and select the font. So the font that we want to pick right now, let's say is Sacramento. And we actually do get asked quite a lot if we have any more available fonts than the ones we have here. And we actually only have these pre-selected fonts. So just sort through these and see which one exactly suits you. And then when we come down over here to choosing a color for the font, one thing you'll notice is if you go with the default, your price will be lower as compared to changing to a custom color, for instance. So if we pick this blue, we'll see that that does really look nice, and we'll go ahead and try to insert that. But one thing you want to keep in mind is when you're sending your mailings out, the first thing that you will notice is your price will go up for your mailing. So just want to keep that in mind. And it looks like we have a question here from Sylvia saying that there's no audio. Could you guys comment, and if you guys can hear me well, just go ahead and say hello. But if not, I can go ahead and try to fix my audio and see what's going on. But Sylvia, the best thing for you to do would be to leave the call and come right back. And thank you, John, for confirmation on that. All right. So going over that signature, so you'll see the new generated signature that we have here is directly above, and we're going to want to have this take over our previous image here. So let's go ahead and click this blue button right here to update. Then you'll see that our new image and our new generated signature is now updated. So let's say, for instance, if we wanted to update our signature image, but let's say we already have a signature. So the best thing that we're going to want to do in that case is go ahead. Oh, whoops, not logos, signatures. And you'll go ahead and pick your signature that you want to work with. And the first thing that you'll notice is there's a tool here that pops up. So what this tool does with the Investment Dominator is you're now able to crop your signature. So one thing you want to keep in mind is the aspect ratio of your image. This may kind of alter it to make it look bigger. So you want to pick a nice aspect ratio as well as pick a nice size. And I do believe we have some articles about that as well. For this instance, I'm going to go ahead and leave some white space on the outsides of my signature, and we'll go ahead and see what that looks like here. So this is what my uploaded signature now looks like. So that's great. Let's go ahead and remember, whenever we make updates to the Investment Dominator, go ahead and hit that blue button down below just to update. So now that'll be done, and that's both ways how you can change your signature image. So the only sections that we have here left are for password and enable Tor. So if at any time at all you're working with the Investment Dominator and you want to change your password, you can actually just head over to your profile section here and click on the button for change password, as well as the enable Tor option, which is enabled from the moment you first start the Investment Dominator. And if you want to go ahead and deselect that, you can go ahead and do that there too. So that's going over our profile section. So that's a great start, and we're going to go ahead and move on to the next section here, our company information. So thank you all for commenting. Looks like the audio is in fact good, so looks like we're good there. Thanks. When we're going over our company information, one thing I want to keep in mind for you guys is how we can break down all of the information there. So we're going over our phone system. Now, when we're going to break down the next section, one thing we want to keep in mind is at any time at all, you can search our user guide and search Ring Central, and we'll go ahead and walk through that as well when we break down that section. But let's go ahead and head to our Customize section. So we're going to go ahead and break down all of the information and all of the fields here. Then we'll go ahead and break down the phone system, which we'll see is our company phone. our offer phone, as well as our selling side phone. So these are big three numbers, and we're going to talk about our recommended phone setup. And this involves using Ring Central. So let's go ahead and break this down. So we have our company phone here. And our company phone, you'll notice, points to an extension 1. So this number is going to Pat Live or Smith AI. So we're just going to reference this for right now, but we'll break it down as soon as we finish our going over the fields here. So next we have our company fax number, and our company fax number, I did in fact leave it blank. If you do have a fax number that you're using for your company, you can go ahead and input that, but just due to the kind of the businesses that are around and what's kind of available, company fax number is kind of irrelevant when you have email, but do keep in mind that people do still use that. So if you do have one, you can go ahead and input that there. But the next section here is our company email section. So this is going to be directed for information that you're getting from the Investment Dominator, as well as anything pertaining to your company. So you'll see here as well too. So just remember, these tips are also helpful. So next we have our company name. And the important thing that you want to know about the company name is that you really want to be in the process and in the works of getting your actual LLC for your company. And, you know, there are people who are coming into this and they might not already have officially their company name. So we're going to go ahead and walk through kind of two ways that you can go about this field. So you have your company name. So if you have your actual company name, you could just put LLC right next to it, and that'll be it. But if you are, in fact, you don't have your official company name yet, but you're, let's say, in the process of getting it, and you really should be in the process. But during that temporary period, what you'll go ahead and do is put DBA. And DBA just stands for doing business as, and then you go ahead and put your name. So, you know, just a couple things that kind of come up with this field, but just specifically, even if you are in the process, no matter where you are in the process, until you officially get that LLC name, you'll want to go ahead and use this DBA method, followed by your name. Also, when we talk about our company address field, which is the next field here, we'll just see that we have the example of 345 Sunny Road Lane. One thing that you want to keep in mind when working with this company address is you don't want to go ahead and put the actual address of your home within this field here. And the reason being is when you're working with the Investment Dominator and you're following through with the process, one thing you don't want is if a deal were to go south and somebody were to get offended, you wouldn't want to know where they live. So basically, you don't want to put your actual company, your actual address, even if you're working remote, as this company address. So another example, let's say if your question is, you know, what do I do next then? Well, you can go to a UPS store, and what you can do is get a mailbox there, and then once you're at the UPS store, you can go ahead and actually just put the address of the store location. And let's just say, for instance, you have something like a PO box. So this is something that you don't want to have on your company address. So this is something that you don't want to see on there. And the reason being is when you're first sending out these letters, when people go and you know, pick it up, you want them to basically take you serious, and you want to have you know, the professionalism there when you're sending out these, either let's say these neutral letters or offers, for instance. So removing this PO box and just keeping the address of the actual UPS store, your mail will get directed to the appropriate location, but this also keeps that professionalism and remains that true hold, I guess. So next you have your company city as well as the company state. So go ahead and put those to where you reside with your company. Then company zip. Then all this is going to be followed by our offer phone. So our offer phone we'll just go over briefly here. One thing I want to keep in mind, and one thing we want to address, is that actually the number here is the same exact number as our company phone. So our company phone, this 510-555-4545, this is the exact same number as our extension 2, which is our offer phone. So we'll explain that in more detail, and this is with Ring Central. So again, let's see, we have our offer email here, and you'll notice actually the offer email as well as the selling site email, these fields are blank, but we do have a way for the system to send you emails dedicated to your offers as well as dedicated to your selling site. But let's say, for instance, you didn't want to have 3 different emails to keep track of. What you can do is you can actually leave this offer email blank and leave this selling site email blank. So both of these blank. And all of the emails with the Investment Dominator will go ahead and direct to your company email. And this is just a good way if you're not really that well at multitasking and you just want to kind of condense all the information to one and keep track of that email. You can go ahead and choose this method. But if you want to have a separate email for your offer email as well as your selling site email, then this would be the route to go. So then we have our selling site phone here, and just want to keep in mind this phone number is completely different than our offer phone as well as our company phone, and that's because this is as we have and as we referenced as the money phone. And you want to be able to pick up this phone and be available at all times for the most part, since this is going to be about buying properties with pennies on the dollar. And you just want to keep in mind this one is going to be separate as to our extension 1 and our extension 2, and we'll go over that shortly. So next we have the company time zone, so where your company time zone is and located, and just the company notes section here. So you'll see this print onto your neutral letters, but one thing you want to keep in mind is that all of the information here will be printed. So for instance, for the company notes section, I just have the hours of operation, so Monday through Friday, as well as 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. So just a good way to indicate when your business is up and going, if somebody were to contact you based off of a letter. So then we have a section here dedicated to real estate agent broker disclosure. So for instance, if you are a real estate agent or you are a broker, you need to disclose that information. So there's legal implications to that. And depending on where you are located, you would know exactly what information you would need to put in this agent disclosure. But one thing that you'll know is that the default here would either need to be, you either have to remove information or add information, but depending on if you are a real estate agent or a broker, you would know that. So if you are not, then you can simply just hit no. And the next field that we have here is our tax ID type, and you'll see the 3 available options that you can pick. So the first one being SSN, TIN, and EIN. So all of these numbers are good forms to put for tax ID type, and you would put the tax ID there. But one thing you want to keep in mind is this is not needed for the Investment Dominator to run. So this field is going to specifically pertain to people who are, let's say, in the process of using active loans and working with the Investment Dominator. So those people would want to have their official numbers on the documents that they're printing because they're going to the IRS and they're, being sent to the government. So if you did want access to that and you do that type of work, then you would go about and enter your information. But if this does not pertain to you, then do not worry about this field at all. So now we're going to go ahead and break down RingCentral, and we're going to go ahead and talk about our phone setup guide. So we have two recommended phone setups. The first setup being our recommended phone setup for 2 lines, as well as our recommended phone setup for 3 lines. So the main difference between the 2-line and 3-line setup is when you're working with the 2-line setup, you are actually able to have a lower price per month as compared to the 3-line setup. So the 3-line setup is going to be more expensive. If you're just starting out with the Investment Dominator and getting up your phone system, we do recommend using our 2-line setup since it is a cheaper option. And you'll see here that we're getting our numbers from RingCentral. And what we're getting exactly, and you want to keep in mind, you want to describe this to them exactly when you're talking with the online phone representative there. And this is because you just want to keep in mind we have our local number 1 and our local number 2. Our local number 1 is what we're going to focus on right now. So our local number 1 is going to point to our extension 1. Our extension 1 to, let's say, sell land. So this can go to a call center like Pat Live. So RingCentral is a completely different subscription to Pat Live, as well as the Investment Dominator. So altogether, that's 3 subscriptions there, including the Investment Dominator. Just keep that in mind. But this Pat Live service, which we're recommending, is a 24-hour call center, and they are able to go ahead and process your new offer requests. And we find that, you know, splitting this, so our local number 1 and our extension 1 points to Pat Live, but our extension 2, which we'll see over here, which is coming from our local number 1. So our extension 2 is going to be about questions about your offer. So this is basically, we sent you an offer. Now we want to discuss it. So discuss it further. And this can be directed, we'll see here, to a Google Voice or a Skype number. So you'll see here the example as well that we have here, Pat Live or Smith AI. So you just want to keep in mind that what we're telling you all today is the recommendations that we have, but you can, for instance, use another service like Smith AI. Just keep in mind that when we tell you the recommended, we do have user guide articles and a lot of technical support backing that up in those recommendations. So that's kind of how we go about that. And you'll see again here our offer phone points to a Google Voice or a Skype number. But it's basically leading off of our extension 2 here. So the last number, the local number 2, this is going to just be about questions about land for sale. So this is your selling site phone. And we'll go ahead and show that here. So this is going to be our process for the 2-line setup. And the last section that we have here is our recommended phone setup for 3 lines. So again, the 2-line setup is cheaper because you're splitting off into extensions. But what you'll notice actually about the 3-line setup is that each number is now different. So our local number 1 is just dedicated to Pat Live. Our local number 2 is dedicated to people that have questions about our offer that we sent them. And local number 3 is about questions about our land for sale. So local number 2 and local number 3 will go ahead and point to your cell, as you'll see here, or the numbers that we have listed there. So that's going over our phone system setup, and we can go ahead and break that down further after we do our last section here, which is our domain section. So with our domain section, we're going to go ahead and walk through a live example of using GoDaddy to set up our domains. So the first thing that we want to do is go over here to the help section, and within this help section, we'll see search our user guide. And right here, we do have an option where we can go ahead and search within the user guide. So let's type in domain. So just like that. Then we'll hit search. And what you'll notice is we're now presented with a search within our database, and this is our user guide database. So we'll go ahead and see this first article here, how to configure your website's domain. So when we go ahead and we can configure our domain, the first thing that you want to keep in mind is by default, Investment Dominator gives you these domain names, but you don't want to have something like this just because you want something to be custom and specifically pertaining to your business. So we go ahead and walk you through this process exactly as to how you can go ahead and buy a domain. So you go ahead and buy your domains. You're going to need two domains, one for your buying site, one for your selling site. And we're going to go ahead and follow this article. And the main reason why we're following this article is so that we can point our CNAME record to the Investment Dominator. By doing this, you're able to enable the services that Investment Dominator has, such as your buying and selling website, as well as we do have some free security that you can get. So make sure when you're buying your domains that you just buy a regular bare-bone domain and do not get any security for that, because we will provide that for free. So for instance, we'll go ahead and log into GoDaddy here and follow this article. So once you log into GoDaddy, the first thing that you'll notice is, let's say, refresh here. And we'll go to, let's go back here. Okay, so the first thing that we'll go ahead and do is log into GoDaddy, and then next we want to go to our domain that we purchased, and we want to go ahead and hit manage. And let's go ahead and see. So once you hit manage, then you'll notice that the next section that pops up here is domain settings. So you'll see domain settings here, and you'll see your domain as well. So let's go back to the article. So what we want to go ahead and go to is DNS, and then we want to go to manage zones. So let's scroll back up and we'll click on DNS, and then we'll go to manage zones. And when we do this, we now have a spot where we can enter our domain. So you'll see that here. You can go ahead and just type the first letter of your domain and it should go ahead and pop up. So my selling site name is lotsofcashoffers.com. And I'm going to be going ahead and working with my selling site. And one thing you want to keep in mind is for your selling site, you want to have a name that kind of shines more, that pops and stands out, since people are going to be looking at your properties specifically from this link, but something as your buying site, which is just going to be directing traffic. You want to basically have a domain that's, you know, something else. So you could have, for instance, joebuysdirt.com for your buying name, but something for your selling site name, just want to have a little pop to it. So next you'll see the section here where we could click on records, and you'll see that's the next step here. And we're going to want to locate the CNAME record spot. So we'll locate CNAME record, and we'll click that symbol to edit, and then it'll open up like this. So if it's your first time doing this, follow along with this article, and you'll see under host, keep it as www. Points to, go ahead and change to the investmentdominator.com. And then for TTL, which stands for time to load, go ahead and put 1 hour. Or sorry, go ahead and put custom. And then go ahead and type 600 seconds. So when you are working through with this, after you click that pen symbol to go ahead and edit, remember www. Points to investmentdominator.com. TTL, which stands for time to load, is custom, and seconds is 600. So once you're done, go ahead and hit save. I'll hit cancel since this information is already there. And the last section, which you'll see here, is your forwarding. So this is basically how you can forward your domain, which looks a lot better when you're sending out your letters. So keep in mind that you want to select the following options. So you want to select HTTP. And once you're writing in your domain here, you want to have the www dot. So my domain name is lotsofcashoffers.com. Also remember the .com there too. Select your forward type to permanent and select your settings to forward only. Again, these steps are talked through here. And once you're done, you can just go ahead and hit save. And that's how you set up your website and you point it to the Investment Dominator. And from there, the next section that we have to do is go ahead and map our new domains to our Investment Dominator. So the way that we do that is we go to customize here and we go to, I'm working with my selling website, so I'll go website settings selling. And then right here, your selling site domain, you'll go ahead and click on change your domain. And then you'll go ahead and type in your domain. You don't have to include the www since it's already there. So just go ahead and put in your domain name. And for instance, you can just pull this right off of GoDaddy and just come back here and paste it. And then once you've done that, the next step is just a signal that you have pointed your custom domain to Investment Dominator via your CNAME record. And that's basically the process that we just walked through here. So you'll go ahead and hit next, and then it'll give you one more confirmation as to if your site is right. Then you'll just hit confirm. So since we have two domains, you'll go ahead and do that for your buying site. So the same process is for the buying site and the selling site, and you'll see that explained here in the rest of this article as well. Do keep in mind that some changes made, especially when first registering your domain, does take around 24 hours to properly register, so just keep that in mind. And one thing here is that since I already had my security for my website, the only option for me to do since I changed is to press OK. But when you're first setting up your website, you'll actually come across something that looks like this. So it'll say the domain was changed. Please use your new domain to access again. And what you'll notice is that you'll click this button instead of hitting OK, and you'll click on secure your domain. Then the next section here, what you'll see is generate your SSL, your secured socket layer, and this is so you can get a lock symbol on your website informing the user that all their information will be protected. So you generate your SSL and you just click the button here and you'll see a loading symbol, and once this is done, it will confirm and give you that message. So that's it for our big three, and we're going to go ahead and open the floor to any questions that we have today involving the Investment Dominator. And just keep in mind, when we ask questions, we're going to want to keep them to the point where everybody can learn. So in the way that we answer tickets as well as how we go about with them for today, we're going to keep it towards beginners, and we're going to make sure we don't get too specific about your business, and keep in mind that we don't answer questions like that just because we have services such as coaching as well as beyond that as well too. So let's go ahead and see if we have any open questions today. And if not, we'll go ahead and just walk through some new processes that's been happening with the Investment Dominator. So it looks like we do have a question here from Alejandro. And the question goes, does the profile information populate onto the letters, the contract, or does it populate from the customized section? So you want to keep in mind, so let's go back to our Investment Dominator here. And remember that you just want to update your site once you're done with your domains as well. So profile section. So the information here for the profile section is not going to be like any other information pertaining to the customize section. So the customize section is really all of the information that's going to be used for your letters, for generating any of your documents, like that. So the profile section here is mainly going to be used for how we can get in contact with you. So how can Investment Dominator support best reach you? So again, you'll just want to go ahead and put an email where we can best reach you, as well as a phone number. So we can contact you in case if there is an issue involving with the Investment Dominator. And this goes without saying, if you go ahead and click on the help section here as well, you'll see that we do have a feature to create a support ticket. So this is the ticket support that we're talking about here. So if you do have a technical issue related to the Investment Dominator, there is an opportunity for you to create that ticket there. And if you actually don't have an idea of how you can go ahead and answer or basically submit a ticket, I do believe we have an article. Let me see if we have here. So we have an article here, how to effectively report technical issues for support. And some of the things that we walk through within this feature is just how you can create that ticket. But also we walk through a tool specifically with TechSmith. And the tool is how you can go ahead and download a service. So this is going to be a free software in which you can record your screen as well as document any issues. We use this especially when we're doing ticket support. And you'll just notice right after you download it, it will pop up into a box that looks like this and has a capture button. It's big and red here. And after you click on that, you'll just choose the option after you select a window. So for instance, if you just wanted to capture a screen with the Investment Dominator up where the error is located, you can go ahead and click on this button here. And we have this article, so it can exactly tell you how you can do that, as well as basically whenever you create that image and you take a picture of it, you can save it or you can copy it as a link. When you use this link, you can actually just come right here to the ticket support and go ahead and put, what your issue is, followed by the link, and that'll go really a long way for you to submit tickets. We get that done a lot faster going about that method, as well as just providing either screenshots or videos of the issue, specifically if you notice any technical problems. So again, you'll see help here. I believe I have a question on where we get to that support ticket area. So just click on help and then go to create a new support ticket. And then, you can have a ticket. This is my technical issue. And then, you can paste that link that's there or anything of that sort, or, just basically tell us your problem. We'll go ahead and look at that, as well as some information that is quite helpful is the platform that you use. So we can know if it's specifically pertaining to a Windows platform or a Mac platform, or let's say if you're even using your tablet or your mobile device for the Investment Dominator. All of these are options. And then you'll just want to go ahead and choose the browser that you use. So many options here. So just Chrome, Internet Explorer, Safari, Firefox. So we try to get all the main ones. So we'll go ahead and pick Chrome here, as well as the priority. So if it's a low priority option, such as let's say a kind of a minor feature where you think we can sit back on it, but when we get to it, we get to it, you can go ahead and put that as a normal response, and you'll notice that's a 72-hour response window. But for more critical issues, so something that's stopping you from doing a process in the Investment Dominator, such as let's say printing out your letters or anything of that sort, any calculators or anything that's stopping you from doing that, go ahead and mark that as critical. And this is going to alert us so that we can properly address your ticket as fast as possible. So then the last options that we have here is to attach a file. So if you actually just saved your screenshots, or let's say you didn't use that TechSmith tool, but you have another screenshot software, you can actually just go ahead and choose and update your files for your ticket just through here. And then you can just go ahead and create a new ticket. One thing you'll notice is if your ticket is closed, you can also go ahead and reply to that ticket directly. And what will happen is the ticket will be forced back open so that we can promptly go ahead and readdress the issue. And the last section here is just the ticket history, where you can see all of your previous tickets and all of the statuses which they're in. So for instance, if you submitted some feature requests to us, or if you sent a ticket and it was marked in open, but now is previously in working or pending, we can also see that there too. So just keep that in mind. And we'll go ahead and look at our questions here and see if we have anything that we can answer. All right, give me 1 second while we review this. Okay, so we have a question here from Monica, and she's asking, is the selling site phone our cell phone number? So great question, and thanks for bringing that up. Let's go ahead and clarify exactly what we're talking about our selling site phone here. So when we're talking about any of the processes with the Investment Dominator, we just want to keep in mind of our recommendations. So again, these are our recommendations here. And let's say, for instance, we're talking about the recommended phone setup for our 2 lines. So we have our logo number 1 branching off into those extensions. And our extension 1, so for instance, this number can be dedicated to Pat Live. But this, so for our logo number 1 and our extension 2, you'll see here is another phone option. And we have that as a Google Voice or Skype number. And what you'll see here for the selling site phone, so you don't want either, you don't want any of these numbers to have your regular phone number that you would be using. So for instance, when you're working with your selling site phone, you want this to be a dedicated number for your selling site. So whether that be getting a new phone altogether, that's our recommendation when it pertains to this. And you don't want to really conflict business with your personal life as well. So just keep that in mind and our recommendations here. And the reason that you want to go ahead and just direct that way is just because this selling site phone is going to be our money phone, and we're talking about pennies on the dollar. So this phone is going to ring, and we're going to go ahead and know that it's going to be about a deal. It's going to be about money, making that money and talking that through. So we want to have a dedicated number that leads right to that phone for our selling site phone. So again, this is our recommendation, as well as how we have it described here for our 2-line as well as our 3-line setup. So hopefully that answers your question, and we'll go ahead and see if we have something else here. So we have a question from Sarah, and Sarah is asking, how can my sellers or buyers leave me a review? And that's a great question. That question is actually going to lead into a couple of topics, but the best way to kind of search and even think about how we can go about searching that is to go overhead here to our help section. Then you'll want to go over to search our user guide, and then you can go ahead and type that in. So in order to do that, you would have to do a custom document, and you want to keep in mind that if you go ahead and type in custom into the Investment Dominator, you would be able to see exactly all of the articles on how we can create custom documents as well as web pages for our Investment Dominator. And for today's session, we're going to keep it mainly towards beginners. That's more of an advanced option, so we'll actually go ahead and save that for our Thursday call. But let's see if we have any more beginner questions here, and then if not, we'll go ahead and break this down further. But let's see. We have another question from, let's see, Javone. And it looks like, does the LLC have to be established under specific codes for vacant land only? So, when you're walking through the process of getting your LLC, you would know the exact rulings specifically for where you're doing your business. So keep in mind that part. So wherever you're establishing your business would best determine those practices. But as far as the Investment Dominator goes, you would just go ahead and just put your LLC name. That's for your company. So again, you don't want to have any conflicting information. So for instance, if you're using let's say if you have an LLC already and you're trying to use that with the Investment Dominator, just keep in mind that that would not be as recommended since when you're working with your company name for your business, specifically with land, you're going to want to have a separate LLC name as compared to using something that's already been used before. So just keep that in mind. And again, when we go ahead and look at our, where is it, our customize section here. And our company information. So you'll go ahead and just put either your company name followed by the LLC, or go ahead and put DBA, standing for doing business as well as your name. So just keep in mind this method, and just talking about this field in general, you're not going to want to have both. You're going to want to have one, like either or. So if you do have your LLC, have this option, but otherwise you would just delete all of this information here. So just put your company name LLC. All right, so let's see if we have any further questions. So it looks like we have a question from Diane, and Diane's asking, how do I access the Investment Dominator? So depending on where you signed up and where you are in the process, you will be receiving an onboarding email with more information as to how you can go ahead and use the Investment Dominator, as well as get your login so that you can go ahead and access the Investment Dominator. One thing you want to keep in mind is when you first log in and you're in your profile, you're going to want to bookmark that page, or either remember the number here located in the URL. So the number that you're using with your Investment Dominator here is unique to your profile. So that's something you want to keep in mind, and just remember that link is tied to you. So that link is exactly how you will use your login information to go ahead and log into the Investment Dominator. But hopefully that helps you with that. And let's see here. So we have a question from Frank, and it's a great question. He says, can we change our information when necessary within the Investment Dominator? So one thing we want to express to you guys is all of the information here, you really want to have set in stone. So, I would think the only thing really that would be kind of one thing that might take longer is, let's say if you're getting your LLC name, this DBA, for instance, and using your name, that'll be fine for when you're doing business. But when we're talking about all the information that's being entered into the company information fields, all of this information we don't want to change. So once we do it, we don't want to keep updating this on a regular basis. And the reason is, when we're sending out our mailings, we don't want to have wrong information being sent out. to, let's say, a subject of 1,000 letters and envelopes. So, number one, it's a lot of money that's being wasted in doing that. And just to give a further example, we have had people who have contacted through letters, let's say 3 years ago, so 3 years prior. So if you keep that information, consistent and you don't really have wiggle room for that, then what you'll notice is, it can really only go up when you're sending out your mailings. When you're sending out these neutral letters, let's say if somebody, denied it one day, but down the road, months later, they went ahead and picked up that letter and they sent you something back, or they wanted to try to contact you. If you didn't have the appropriate numbers, as well as if you didn't have the consistency in your emails, you'll just see that you'll have missed opportunities there where people can contact you. So all of this information you really want to have set in stone, and you want to go through the process. That's why we explained it more in detail. And one thing I can suggest to you as well, if you had further questions, is go ahead and type in Ring Central into the user guide and go ahead and hit search. And what you'll notice here is just the article on our recommended Ring Central setup. So from this article, you'll see exactly, and it splits it up into extensive detail as to our 2-line setup and our 3-line setup. Walks you through the images here, which we recommend either having when you're talking to the representative. And it'll walk you through basically everything you need to know about Ring Central and what you need to add it. So you can have your phone system set in stone, and when we're looking at our profile here, we'll have our address done and everything will be in tip-top shape. And the next step after you've completed all of this is to go ahead and actually test this information. So go ahead and call your local number one and just test it out, as well as testing your extensions. And just make sure that when you're sending out these letters, if they're trying to contact you, you just basically do a run where you can see exactly how everything's set up and exactly how the customer or the consumer is going to go ahead and use your sites. So that's thank you for that question, Frank, and hopefully that clears that up. And let's see here. So we have a question from Radisha, and it looks like how can we edit our site on our own? So great question. Thank you for bringing that up. And what you'll see here is just our user guide in general. So for instance, we were just on this user guide article to do our recommended Ring Central setup. But if you actually click just a button here, or even browse our user guide, which is another option here, what you'll see is that we have a search field in which you can search our database. And one thing that you'll see here is we have selling, as well as customization, integrations, data. So more fields than just our top fields here. So if we click on customization, we should see articles on how we can either create new documents, as well as manipulate our site and create our own themes. So for instance, if we wanted to edit our selling site, we can go about 2 options. We can either go ahead and use this method after clicking on customize to go ahead and then search our user guide to be able to find these articles. And you'll see here we have examples like how to customize the look of your built-in websites. We have stuff like how to add an interactive property listing map to a custom page for your website, as well as adding social media icons to your listings, how to customize the color scheme of your selling site. So there's really a lot of options that we have here. And if you just play around and mess around with these, what you'll see is that there's step-by-step articles, so they walk you through. We try to do in the 1, 2, 3, 4 kind of method like that. So we try to keep it short and simple, but also put extensive detail into these. And if you do have any further questions, you can also sign up for our Thursday session that we have with the Investment Dominator. So if you actually click on help here and you go to weekly live Q&A training calls, what you'll see is that for those of you who joined on our Monday call that we have here, you'll see is based in Arizona at 5 p.m. Thank you all for joining tonight. And then we have our Thursday call, and our Thursday call is going to go ahead and be at noon. And you can sign up the same way. So just how you signed up for our Monday sessions, we also have these Thursday sessions. And you can go ahead and actually click on this and fill in your information, and then you'll be put on the queue for all of the rest of the calls that we have for the year. And you'll see this button to click here to review the replays of our previous calls. So for instance, the last replay of the call that we have that are available here, you'll see if you click on these, this is a Thursday call, and we're just talking about all of the questions that we answered, and they're all labeled as well as the appropriate timestamp, which is here. So what you'll notice is if you actually click on the video on the right, you'll be able to scroll through on a YouTube video and exactly locate where you can find these videos. So for example, if it's at 4 minutes and 15 seconds in this video, this is where we will go ahead and talk about our property location and why it doesn't show up, or where it now shows up. So also, for example, if you click on the 26th, this is a Monday call, so it's going to look like this for this call today. And we're just going to go ahead and put the timestamps for the big three that we walked over. So just keep in mind that was all recorded when we did our domains and our company information. So if at any time you do get confused, let's say you can go back to a previous session and then be able to locate that there. And then we just have the questions that we walk through afterwards. So hopefully that answers your question. And again, just searching through our user guide, just keep in mind that we go searching by keywords. So don't really type by sentences, but just live training, for instance, buying or selling, things like that. Those will really go a long way in how you can really use our user guide to your benefit. So we're about almost done with today's session here, and just want to thank everybody for submitting your questions. Really great to see the response going on, and please do join our Thursday call this week that we'll have. That was at 12 p.m. Mid-Standard Time, and we'll go ahead and break down all of your advanced questions. And I'll actually go ahead and take 2 of the questions here from tonight and bring that first thing for our Thursday session. So thank you all for joining, and I do have a quote before I let you guys go. So the quote is from Michael Korda, and it goes, "One way to keep momentum going is to have constantly greater goals." So you just want to keep in mind when working with the Investment Dominator, really the success that drives from the Investment Dominator comes from you. So being able to step out of your comfort zone and really stick your mind to the material and get everything set up and going, that's really going to go a long way in how you can go ahead and perform your best, really moving forward. And this goes without saying when we're talking about any of the information that we have. Just with the Investment Dominator, we want to have our framework set up so that we can really go ahead and make that success for the future. So again, thank you all for joining tonight, and we'll go ahead and end the call. And thank you all for joining, and goodbye.